Hello and welcome. Today we are in the Tier 7 British light cruiser, the Belfast. This is a match from the ranked season, and as always I ended up playing ranked on the very last day, so I played a lot of matches, and well, this is one of them. We are on the map Ring, because if you look at the minimap you can see a resemblance with jewelry right away, right? Like the edges, etc. Okay, never mind. So I start out going towards the sea cap because I noticed that there's only one destroyer on both teams, and I also know that destroyers like going wide, and on this map it is possible for a cruiser to at least try to help with the caps at B, C, or even A. All of these are potentially viable. I don't recommend going into B, and even this spot that I'm in is kind of sketchy because of where that Atlanta is. Atlanta being there is actually great because I can open up on her, I have a smoke screen, I can lock the cap, I can chase off the Sims. This is great. However, if there was a battleship with the Atlanta, this would be slightly not great. I mean, there still could be, but I think they've mostly been accounted for. Alright, okay, actually no, there's one battleship missing, so technically this is still a risk. But I do have my smoke screen, and the Atlanta is clearly out of range for her radar, so I'm gonna be okay. However, this is a somewhat dangerous position that I'm in, and really it is not without risk. However, I think often you have to take some kind of a risk, and I would say Belfast is a much better ship for that than something like, say, the Atlanta. Because the Atlanta engaged from there, which means that she's now gonna be shot at quite a lot. And keep in mind that there are 4 battleships in this match. More than half the ships are battleships. So that Atlanta is gonna have a bad time. Oh, there's the second Atlanta. See? This is kinda why the smoke isn't all powerful over there, because that Atlanta could have been in a slightly better position and been able to radar me. However, there was no battleship to punish me anyway, so it's okay. Now, this is going to be a somewhat difficult battle because the enemy has 3 Synops, and the problem with Synops is that they are rather resistant to HE spam. I do have IFHE on my Belfast because against most battleships it is good, but Belfast or Synop unfortunately not so much, because she has so much weird armor plating on the ship that you end up hitting those sometimes with the shells, and then your shells just deal less damage, compared to, say, I don't know, a Nelson, that's basically penetratable with HE all over the ship. So actually, I guess I could go over my build, so I go for Priority Target, Expert Marksman, Superintendent. Actually, I don't know why Superintendent, I'm not really sure if you would want that on a Belfast, but that's what I had. Concealment Expert, then IFHE, then Adrenaline Rush, and Demolition Expert, and I believe that's all 19 points. Anyway, it's time to turn my ship around, head back towards the cap zones, because we hold one of the caps, the one I took, but the other 2 are in opposing control, and I think based on our Shiratsu's positioning, she is not going to be doing too much contesting anytime soon. Not that she really could, because they do have an Atlanta, and well, Atlantas do have radar, and radar kinda, you know, beats destroyers that are trying to cap. Especially when both of the enemy caps actually have a Synop in them. I mean, seriously, both of them have a Synop in them. I wouldn't really expect the Shiratsu to cap anyway. So we lost one of our battleships, that's not good news. I was hoping our battleships would last longer. Luckily it's not one of the Synops. So it's somewhat expected that they would go down against the Synop. But it's still not great news. We did hold an advantage because that Atlanta really screwed up at the start, but I guess we kinda lost that one, because I would put a battleship above an Atlanta in a match like this. Because the one destroyer is important and all, but we will eventually have to actually sink the enemies. And Atlantas aren't that great in matches like this one. I mean, they're resistant to Belfast HE. Wait till you try Atlanta HE. Because Atlanta's also another thing is Atlantas don't have They do not have a smoke screen. Oh yeah, another thing, I forgot. Our Atlanta was actually AFK the entire match. Well, not the entire match. The start of the match. I mean, sure, it's been 7 minutes now and he's still AFK. By the way, welcome to ranks 2 to 5 with these superb gameplay moves such as being AFK. This is the top quality plays right there. Anyway, the Synop in the middle cap actually has turned around. It might be a good idea to try to reposition so that I can utilize my smoke that's up now to try to get into a position to be able to just shell her. Right now I wasn't quite sure what my smoke firing detectability range was, so I wanted to check it out. It's 5.3 kilometers I believe, and so I realized that if the Synop tries to push, I can probably get quite a few shots off with my smoke screen. And it's possible that she would, you know, try to blindly shoot into the smoke, but there are better targets around. And another thing is that Synop does have some weaknesses. You see, her armor scheme is incredible. For battleship versus battleship fights, for battleship versus cruiser fights, she does lack in one thing though. Her turret traverse is fairly slow. So if she decides to pick a target at close-ish range, she can't really change her mind easily. Anyway, I'm going to engage this. Yeah, I have only 1 kilometer distance that I can try to shell her over, but we should be able to deal quite a lot of damage here, and hopefully this will dissuade her from pushing too hard. Okay, so let's see how much damage can we do. So we're at, what is this? Let's say we're at around 100 hits when we started. Boy, I sure am seeing a lot of damage coming up over here, huh? Oh wow, we actually did damage this time. We just need to do that more, like 8 times. I'm gonna Hydra. Actually, I don't know why I Hydra here. I don't think that makes sense. Because I can't. I literally cannot detect her with my Hydra before my. You know, I would be spotted in smoke. I try to be on the very edge, because if she goes 300 meters closer, I will be spotted if I fire. Which means that I either wouldn't fire or I would just be sailing away and trying to dodge as much as I can. Hey, another 200 damage. God, imagine if I couldn't start fires. How difficult it would be to actually deal damage to this Synop. It's kind of unbelievable just how hard it is. Because she has only lost half her HP. I have hit her like 80 times now with my HE shells. And had multiple fires. This is a bit silly, huh? Right? I mean, I'm not the only one who thinks this. Okay, my smoke is gone. And we're talking about the Belfast. Imagine if you're in a cruiser that's, I don't know, slightly less powerful than the Belfast? Like, all of the other ones? I don't know. How is a cruiser supposed to fight that? I just can't understand. Anyway, she finally goes down with the help of my other teammates. Also, our Atlanta is back, so somewhere within the first 10 minutes she probably came back. So it's next up, we're gonna be fighting some Synops. We do need to play with caps now, because they do hold the advantage in the cap zones. Or they have held one for a while now, which puts her almost 200, which puts them almost 200 points in the lead. However, ships-wise, we're equal. Why are we equal? We lost another ship. Oh, right, yeah, I remember now. Well, at least we have an advantage now. And I think we're gonna be able to take that Atlanta soon too, so we should be in a good position. Yeah, 72 HP. Not going to work out for you, Atlanta. Goodbye. So, now it's time to go for the... I guess one of the Synops or the Shiratsu can just go and take B or something. I mean, it's a Nelson and Synop. If I have to fight another Synop, though, that's gonna take forever. By the way, I'd like to note, though, that even though I've been raving on about this Atlanta, he's actually a pretty good player, at least from the games I ran into him. He was pretty decent. So I don't have too many complaints about that. It's just kind of funny how sometimes people end up AFK. Of course, maybe he just disconnected or something. You know, lost internet connection or whatever. Things can happen. It was just the one time we had like a completely AFK person for half the match. In the higher brackets. Anyway, time to fight another Synop because this went so well last time. We did so much damage. The DPM was off the charts. 700 damage. 1400 damage. 2000 damage. 1450 damage. Well, I guess technically we are only firing 2 guns at a time, so the alpha damage should be higher. 700. 700. 1257 plus a fire. 700. 431. 900. 1386. 700. 700. Thank God for that torpedo, huh? 700. How did that deal 1 damage more than all the other salvos? All the other salvos did 693, but that one did 694. What's up with that? Anyway, we're 4 ships versus 2. This is an easy victory. I mean, sure, the enemy holds the caps advantage. And they have 100 points on us, but we have 4 ships for 2 of theirs. How hard can this possibly be to win, right? And hey, there's the enemy destroyer. We have a radar cruiser with hydro. We have a destroyer. This is no problem. Because it's not like our Shiratsu just committed Sudoku or anything, right? Right, Shiratsu? Right? Oh. So much for that destroyer, huh? Well, anyway, because they're at 920 points, I need to lock this cap, and the Atlanta needs to lock A. Now, my amazing concealment, and I'm not saying this sarcastically, helps here a lot. 8.9 kilometer concealment. Thank you very much, concealment expert. Concealment upgrade. I think it's concealment modification 1 or something along those lines. And I am home free. I didn't get hit, which means that we're gonna get this cap, and at this point, not really sure what to do. So there's 2 options. One, I go out and I try to basically fight the Nelson in open water. And maybe try to catch the Sims with radar and whatnot. The other option is that I stay here. I radar right now, precautionarily, because I didn't know where the Sims is. I was hoping she would be coming around the island and I could surprise her with this radar, but I just wasn't sure. Unfortunately, our Atlanta committed a huge mistake here. She actually went out to try to fight the enemy. And I don't know the last time if you've tried this, but Battleship beats Atlanta pretty much every time. So yeah, I think Atlanta is gonna go down, and they have 928 points. We need to sink this Nelson. Ideally both the Nelson and the Sims. We do hold 3 cap zones right now, so they're not gaining any points, but once they sink one of our ships, if they take even one of the caps, the game will end very quickly. Luckily, we're not dealing with a Synop this time, so my HE actually does damage. And you can see a quite stark difference here when I start hitting the Nelson properly. She does have a 26mm bow, so look, see, this salvo did 3k damage. Okay, she fired APS, should be fine. Dealing 30k damage to Belfast in a single salvo is difficult. 2 salvos is not that hard actually, but since she kind of whiffed the first one, it's going to be fine. Hoping I could maybe finish the Sims off here, but sadly it's not going to be enough, so felt a bit like a waste. I don't know why the Nelson is turning away. She absolutely should not be turning away here, unless she has like a heal going right now. She should be going as hard as she can on trying to sink me, because if she sinks me, then the Sims is actually alone versus the KGV, and it's potentially possible, in fact I would even say likely, that the Sims should win that engagement. And I'm not saying that, you know, Sims is gonna necessarily sink the KGV, although that's a possibility, but rather that the KGV could, or the Sims could just run her around islands. But even then, you know, she can just YOLO in and torp her. Anyway, at this point we are at a significant advantage and this game is pretty much over. It's likely the KGB will go down to the Sims torps, but perhaps it won't happen. Anyway, I'm gonna try to get close to radar just in case, but I think the game is over. This is a really hard game. Can't believe that Synops takes so much to actually sink by a Belfast. And hey, we're rank 3. Unfortunately, I didn't actually make it. I just ran out of time. 133k damage, 2267 base XP. I didn't actually sink any ships, but I did solo cap 2 bases. But look at this damage, 96k HE alpha damage. And only 7k fire damage. Despite the fact that I got 11 fires. This is another aspect why Sinop is so good, because you have the very fast damage control party that the Soviet battleships have. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.